Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk About It. This is Susan Johnson. I'm here with my co-host, Dennis O'Brien, and have we got some fabulous guests for you this evening. We're coming up on a great holiday on Friday the 4th, and our 4th of July ceremony will be going on with our parade. We have our wonderful Wayne Norman. Wayno, welcome to the show. It's so glad to have you here.
When did I become wonderful?
Oh, today, when you're on our show.
Okay. Took me 55 years here to become wonderful.
Can I take issue with that?
No. And we also have our fabulous mayor, Tom DeVivo. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Well, thank you. When did I become fabulous?
Today, when you're on the show with us.
Hey, wait a minute. Don't forget Rupar. He's fabulous, too.
He
Matt
is,
Rupar, our
right.
producer.
Fabulous
Matt Rupar.
We love you, Matt. Yay.
I just noticed Matt's a lefty, just like Tom DeVivo.
All right.
I am, yeah.
But, we're going to talk
Good
a little
job,
bit
Matt.
about some of the great things that are going on here in the town of Windham, but also some of the wonderful things that will be going on, not just on the 4th of July with the Boombox Parade, but also something to talk about tomorrow with Bill Holowati, who is going to be honored with the naming of the field. And that's another reason we have the fabulous Wayne Norman here with us.
Now I'm fabulous. I thought it was Tom.
All right.
Hey, I switch your
All right,
wonderful. Now
All right, that's enough. That's enough,
But
Susan.
anyway,
Get him out of
but,
here.
I just want to say I'm an Eastern Connecticut State University graduate,
Yep.
and he was actually there when I was a student, and of course he was there long past the time I was there as a student.
And
but,
before.
a little bit before,
Yeah.
1967, 68, right in there, and
Was it college back then?
It was
Was it-
Eastern Connecticut State, college.
Yeah.
And all the places I went to college, even my law school was college, and then it was university after I left. I changed them all. But anyway, he actually was a big winner, 1,404 games in the time that he was there. He won the most games of anybody who was a coach, a Division III coach. And so I'm very excited to see this all occurring. And I know that, Wayno, you have a lot to say about some of this stuff.
Yeah, I'll be the MC for the 11 o'clock ceremony tomorrow at what is now called the Eastern Baseball Stadium, but it'll then be changed to the Holowati Family Field. And I think that's very appropriate because it was a collaborative effort between Bill, his wife Jan, and of course their 3 kids as well. And Jared was a national champion. He was the captain of the 2002 team, which was the final national championship that Coach Holowati won. So there'll be an impressive speaking program tomorrow. And it's funny, they kind of told me to keep it short, but I could do an hour myself talking Eastern baseball as far as some of the great games, the great players, the history, and the rivalries, and Porky Vieira and the University of New Haven. So
I saw Porky play.
Well, I saw him coach, and that was a great team he had in Division II.
Florindo Porky Vieira.
And he also officiated. In fact, he did some UConn games,
Yes,
too.
he did.
But they'll be having a relatively short speaking ceremony tomorrow. The event is open to the public. There will be a finger food process after the ceremony. And if people would like to go, they do encourage you to RSVP online. You can do that on the ECSU Athletics website on the baseball page, or on our website, WILI.com. Go to the left-hand margin, go to the Wayne Norman guest. It's got past guests, and this morning I had 2 of his former players on, Greg Sullivan and also Jeff Fanero, who was a catcher on the 2002 National Championship team, and their picture will be on there, as well as the link to register for tomorrow's event. It's going to be fun. A lot of old players are going to be there, a lot of national championship players, a lot of coaches. People have a lot of respect for what Bill Holowati built here. And I'll give a little tease that one of the first things I'm going to say tomorrow is that when Coach Holowati came to Eastern, the 4 years before that, ECSU baseball, ECSC baseball, was 19-35. 5 years later, 5 years after Holowati came to Eastern, they finished number 2 in the nation at the NAIA College World Series. There was no NCAA Division III then. That came later on in 1976. But he finished second in the nation in 1973, in 1975, third in the nation. So he built that program immediately by getting some great players, including some good players from Windham High School.
And some from New Britain. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Why do you mention that, Dennis? Why do you mention New Britain?
I have a connection. I was born there. Born and raised in New Britain. I'm very proud of New Britain. New Britain is a lot like a bigger Willimantic, only I like it better here.
So for the TV audience, and we are on TV here.
We are, yeah.
I have my Eastern Connecticut baseball shirt.
Yeah.
I got my Eastern Connecticut baseball hat on. And that'll be the wardrobe for tomorrow, too.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll have to find some of my
Susan,
Eastern Connecticut State University
Yeah.
Attire as well.
Well, are we going to be there tomorrow, Susan?
Oh, yes, we are, Dennis. Absolutely.
I know
It's on
you
my
insisted that we go, and I said I got to go too because, I know Bill because I played a lot of basketball against Bill at the Y. In fact, I was at the old Y. In
Good
Y.
question. He's not going to say?
In the old
ignored me.
YMCA on Main Street, and because I was oftentimes the tallest guy on my team and the toughest, I had to guard him a lot. So Bill and I went at it several times. I probably still have some bruises on my hips.
I would say this about that baseball stadium, which opened in 1998, because under David Carter, they really developed the buildings in the center of campus, and they wanted to make the center of campus, I'm talking off Eastern Road, center for academics, and literally the current library at Eastern is in deep center field of where old alumni field, or when you were there, Susan, Knight Field, was located. And Dr. Carter realized that they got to get that athletic stuff out of the center of campus, so they moved it to the property in Mansfield. And that stadium wouldn't be there without Dr. Carter, the late Dr. David Carter, the president of Eastern Connecticut State University. So I'm going to give him a shout out tomorrow, too, because he was a fan of athletics, and he recognized the importance of what Hollowaty and Eastern baseball did for the national reputation of Eastern. You can make a fair comparison that UConn basketball men were a regional program until Jim Calhoun turned it national. You've got the same situation with Hollowaty and Eastern Connecticut State University, that people hadn't heard of Eastern, and suddenly they're going to World Series, they're winning national championships, they're taking some of the best teams on, and they're beating those best teams. And Carter realized that, and he got a first-rate facility. He really did his due diligence in lobbying the state legislators and getting the money for that field, and it is one of the premier baseball facilities in New England. Now, to be fair, UConn now has a renovated field from J.O. Christian Field, and they also have a high-quality field. But that field, early on, the longtime, two-time national championship head coach of the University of Southern Maine, Ed Flaherty, called it Taj Mahalawadi. Well, it's going to have a new name tomorrow, the Hollowaty Family Field, but that's how good that field is, and that's why they're honoring Bill Hollowaty and the family tomorrow.
It's a great event, and I just have to say I was really thrilled also that we were able to, under Dr. Carter, to open the women's softball field, which I was able to throw the first pitch out on.
Was it a strike?
After being trained by Dennis for a couple of weeks.
I had
a couple of weeks?
Well, she hadn't played a lot of ball, and she was asked by Coach Pepin, I believe, asked her to throw out the first pitch. We've known Coach Diana Pepin since she was like 13 years old, and a good friend of our daughter's, and one of my players on my initial softball, Little League softball team. And Susan was able to throw out the first pitch because Susan helped get that field built because she got money from. She talked to Governor Malloy. Tell the story about that. That's a great story.
Well, it was me and Governor Malloy and also Senator Williams, and we were able to pull that together after a few years, and it was a great thing, and I was able to attend and throw out the first softball. So.
And at equal time, that's a high-quality softball facility right behind Eastern's baseball stadium, Clyde Washburn Field, and they've won national championships with that program as well.
Yes, and Susan was actually, the story is that Susan ran into Diana Pepin at the store and asked her how things were going. And she said, "Well, we're playing all our games on the road now because they took away the field that was on campus."
Yes, that's right.
And the rest is history.
Well, the same thing happened with baseball. That once they'd taken Alumni Field away, first called Knight Field, they had to play a couple of years at Rec Park. And that was Eastern home games. They didn't have to play all road games like Diana did, but they had a facility. Then they played at Rec Park in Willimantic until that opening in 1998 when they played Wesleyan. And the first game there was raining. So they had this big ceremonial thing, and we'll hope that doesn't happen tomorrow. Actually, if it does happen tomorrow, they've already told me that there's going to be tenting and things like that put up, so people stay dry for tomorrow's 11 o'clock ceremony.
Excellent.
Well, it rained the day that Susan threw the first pitch at the softball opening. Right, Sue?
That's right, and I wore my raincoat.
She threw that pitch with a raincoat on, and
Dennis said he never saw anything like that.
somebody from Eastern the Eastern photographer took a picture of it, and we have it framed at home.
All right.
So the
Fantastic.
ceremony tomorrow begins at 11 o'clock. Dr. David Yo, the one-time trainer of Eastern Connecticut, including baseball, Dr. David Yo will sing the national anthem. We'll get remarks from Eastern's current president, Dr. Karim Ismaili, and then the current baseball coach at Eastern, Mike Odenwalder, will speak. Tom Roth, who was a member of the class of 81, right before they won their first national championship, he's a Wyndham High guy, he'll be speaking. Former player Greg Sullivan, who I had on this morning. Former player Jared Holowati, whose dad you may have heard of, he'll be speaking. Jen Holowati, his big sister, will be speaking. Michelle Devaney, the Student Affairs Assistant Director, will be speaking. And then comments from Bill and the family, wrapping these up with photos and lunch as well at the Eastern Baseball Stadium, soon to be Holowati Family Field.
All right.
I think Tom DeVivo has something to say. Tom?
Well, I do. You know, we haven't mentioned Bob Ojek, who really helped so much the success. Was he the assistant coach?
Yeah, longtime assistant coach, national assistant coach of the year.
Yes. Because, my brother and I were heavily involved when they had Eastern Tides, and Coach Holowati kept pushing us to keep supporting remember the Eastern Tides?
Yeah, I have a hat. I still have a hat.
The Woodbat Baseball Summer League that was played there at the
They
stadium.
were awesome. They were a lot of fun. That was maybe we get something like that back in the future, but that was really a great event they had in our community.
Yeah, I went to a few games. I had a friend who was connected to the Tides, and he sold me a hat. Gave me a good deal on it. I still have it, along with all my Cardinal hats and Philadelphia Eagles hats and Celtics hats.
I wonder they even had a mascot, right? That used to run around the field.
It's like a cat, I think. I don't know.
Cat or something, yeah.
I assume it'll be there tomorrow. I haven't heard about that.
Yeah. But neither have I. But they had a mascot there. But Coach Holloway helped keep that going and keep that because they needed funding and from the community, and it was people did attend the games.
I mentioned Jared Holowati when he was very young. He was a bat boy for his dad's program. He goes from bat boy to captain his senior year, national champion his senior year. Pretty good story.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is.
Anyway, Susan and I are going to be there tomorrow, so I'm glad you said we better RSVP because we haven't. We will do that, folks, if you're going to be there, and I hope to see you there. And Dwight Bachman, if you're listening, we love Dwight Bachman. He's been a guest on the show several times.
He's in University Communications.
Absolutely very good friend of both Bill Holowati and the late great David Carter, and also Wayne Norman. I'm sure he'll try to be there if he can.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure.
I hope to see Dwight there.
Yeah.
Dwight, if you're there, we want to sit with you.
Exactly.
Me and Susan, right, Sue?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is going to be a great event, great occasion. But we have some other great events occurring, right? Dennis, you were at a swearing-in today with Tom. Our mayor, Tom DeVivo, was there swearing in.
Oh yeah, Tom, you did a great. That was great, Tom. I'm so glad I attended that. Go. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, we swore in 2 new young officers. The longer we're around, Dennis, the police officers seem younger and younger, don't they?
Well, everybody seems younger to me now,
Yeah, but
even you.
Give out the motto.
Even Wayne.
These are 2 best friends.
Wayne's not agreeing, I don't think.
They go to Eastern. They're Eastern grads.
Okay.
And one's an Eastern grad. They're best friends. They've joined the force together, and they're headed off for, probably for a period of time to do
6 months.
Police Academy for 6 months at the Police Academy, and it's a lot of work, and hopefully they're successful and they join the Willie PD. And, they're going to be a great team, part of our team. And their parents were there, and it's really a nice event when we do this.
It is a nice event.
Yeah, then they come back.
I was really pleased to be there. I walked in with Tom, and I was surprised to see so many people there this morning at 10 a.m. at the police department. It was wonderful, Tom, and I'm really proud to be part of the Willimantic Taxing District Board of Directors. We do a lot of work in conjunction with the police and fire departments in Willimantic, and it's a great relationship we have, and I'm very pleased, and I want to continue to do that.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah, but there was not,
Tom Waino again, putting my interviewer cap on. We talked about this on Monday morning when you were in the studio here. What's the latest on the town hall clock? Is it chiming every hour, or is it still hiccuping?
Well, it was chiming this morning. I'm assuming it still is.
Every hour?
Every hour. 6 o'clock, it'll be hitting 6 times. I don't know if it stopped. I heard it this morning. I was on Main Street. I didn't have to go to town hall, but I had to go to the post office. I heard it ring, and
so we think that's fixed.
I think it's fixed. There's a big cable, and the cable had come off the spool for the first day, but the timing is right. It says the correct time. We actually were talking about doing the first night is going to be July 3rd. We're going to make it July 3rd and July 4th. It should be red on July 3rd and blue on July 4th. So it'll be, we can change the colors now with the light.
Wow, that's fabulous. We got a lot of new things going on there. It's wonderful to be able to have the clock back, and high praise to everybody and the staff and the town hall that did that. And it took some time. I mean, it wasn't something that could be done right away because just all that old equipment had to be changed into new modern stuff.
Balzer Clockworks from Maine. They're the ones who fixed it.
And they fixed it great, but also we should put a big thank you to you, Susan. You and May helped get the funding from the state.
Well, thank you.
That was done with state funding, and you had the ability to help us get the funding because it wasn't a cheap job, and it came out great, and they did a good job fixing it up.
Absolutely, it's a great thing to have back, and it really fits in with historic downtown Willimantic.
Well, I was on the, here's a little segue. I was on the Tom DeVivo show on Facebook last night, and I learned from Tom that he has never missed a boombox parade. And we were trying to think of people who were in that same category, and one of them was Wayne Norman.
Yep. So we have 2 people who have never missed a boombox parade right here on our show.
We haven't missed many either for you. I'd say maybe 1 or 2.
Maybe 1, I think.
Maybe 1.
Out of town.
I don't. Yeah. You know who else has done everyone? I did say this to you, Dennis, and I don't think Wayne. It's my daughter.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. She was 7 months old. Amanda was 7 months old.
You mentioned that last
And
night.
she's been in everyone. She was in a car seat in front of a Mack truck that I had to. The truck didn't have a seatbelt for a car seat, so I tied it in with straps, and because her mother was so concerned something was going to happen. But Amanda's never missed one, and we're all looking forward to next Friday.
Well, one story about that, Tom, that I remember is that in that first parade, I think your parents, maybe your mother, gave us about 100 plaid vests, and people had a marching boombox, like a marching band. There was 100 of them marching down. I've got a picture of that, and they're all. Back then, we came from Memorial Park to Gilson. The first 2 years we did that. Then the formation got so big we had to switch it around. But I remember those came from DeVivo's.
Yeah, they came from DeVivo's Discount Warehouse. I recall that.
Right.
I do.
I forgot about the Discount Warehouse. I remember that. Yeah.
Yes, and we had Mark Christopher help me build the photo. Mark, who used to work for the radio station, and now I don't know where he is. But
he's in Hartford, but is that before he was a shark?
Yeah, I think so.
Mark the Shark.
Mark the Shark, right. I remember
Mark
that.
the Shark, yeah, I think that it was before
forgotten
the Shark.
And if you ask him who hired him at this radio station, he would say me. Keith Rice would say the same thing.
Well,
you hired Keith Rice? I'm going to leave it at that. Okay.
Yes, it was child labor.
But I had no Mark. I've known Mark forever and ever. Our fathers were very best friends, and Tom Rico, and Mark always wanted to be into radio. Always. That's what he wanted to do. So even when he was little, he used to have a radio set up in his house. So, but he helped me set it up. And this one year he helped me, and then we had a little.
He turned out pretty good.
Incident.
He turned out pretty good for a guy that was born on Friday the 13th.
Yeah, he was. He did, but we had a little electrical problem once. Had to jump out with fire extinguishers. That was the last time he helped me. So.
Well, you're talking about the days you were up the street in the old. Yeah. What building was that? Who owned that building?
The Lonergan building.
Lonergan.
It was romantic that it was Stone Row, and I don't know what's going on there now.
There's not much right now. No.
Yeah.
Been closed down.
There'll be something soon. Just
okay. Good to hear. Good to hear.
There'll be things happening. So.
Very happy to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that day. When you were in that building, didn't Senator Meskel Tom Meskel had an office upstairs, right?
No, Congressman Bob Steele was upstairs.
Bob Steele, that's who it was.
You got the wrong Republican.
Because they were giving Congress the strength of steel.
Tom Meskel when he was in Congress, he represented New Britain. Tom Meskel was a parishioner of the same church I attended. Lived in the same general neighborhood. I didn't really know him. He was older than me, and he had kids and stuff that were younger than me. But he was there every Sunday with all his kids, and we knew him to say hi to back in the day.
I gotta just say this because when I was 8 years old, I come from all my family on both sides are Republicans, and so when I was 8 years old, I marched in the parade for Tom Meskel for mayor.
No, I didn't even know you did that.
In New Britain.
I forgot that. All right, we'll talk about that later. Okay, we're gonna have to take a break right now, and we're gonna come back. Second half of the show, we're gonna talk about the Boombox Parade. Okay, coming up next Friday, July 4th, of course.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Thanks, folks.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Susan Johnson. I'm here with my co-host, Dennis O'Brien, and our fabulous guests, Wayne Norman and Tom DeVivo. So welcome back, everyone, and we're going to talk about what's going to happen on Friday, the 4th of July. And, Wayno is
we'll let Wayno start.
Dressing for the occasion.
We'll let Wayno start.
Well, you can describe how I changed hats during the commercial break.
Yeah, I can describe how you changed hats during the commercial break. First half, talking about the Howardie Family Field. We had an Eastern Connecticut State University hat. Very impressive hat. Very nice hat. I'd like to get one like that myself.
I think, Susan, when you were at Eastern, they didn't use this maroon color scheme.
No.
I think they started that
blue.
15 or so years ago. They were blue and white.
Blue and white.
But I think the maroon they've worked into the color scheme works fine. And this baseball hat that I was wearing for the last half hour is that maroon with the white block lettering that says Eastern. So what do we got going on now?
I see a drum major's hat that has a WILI same sticker I have on the back of my truck. WILI AM and FM or AM.
All right. So the story about this drum major hat. When this parade first started, and I guess at some point we got to talk about how it started. Thank you, Kathy Clark. I became the de facto Grand Marshal, and I guess I had the idea. Wyndham didn't have a band at that point, but I needed something in the way of a Grand Marshal look, like a drum major hat. And Wyndham still had one. And Catherine Wade, who was in the music department, maybe the head, I don't know, at Wyndham High, was very cooperative. So I got it and wore it in that first parade that I basically just wore red, white, and blue and stuck this thing on, and I marched down the street, and that was that. The other stuff, all the crazy stuff came later. And then I would go up to Wyndham High, give it back to them. They'd put it in the vault for another 364 days, and then following year, I'd go up to the office, which is harder to get into now, and they'd go in the vault, get the thing out, and eventually, after about 15 years of that, they just said, look, we don't need it, just keep it. So I keep this thing, and I just dug it out for the show today, and wearing the drum major hat, and this is a Wyndham High School drum major hat. How'd the parade come about? Told the story a million times. There may be one or two people that haven't heard, but in short, for Memorial Day, they did not have a band. Wyndham's did not have a marching band, and they wanted a band for the Memorial Day parade. Kathy Clark, big local marching band, big parade fan, came to us and said, well, look, we don't have any music for the parade. What about you guys, WILI, playing marching band music and people bring radios? This was like 3 days before Memorial Day, and we said, I don't know if we can turn this thing around and make it work. So we said no. And she went away, and we thought she'd never come back. Well, she came back. And about a week later, she said, all right, you want more lead time? let's do 4th of July. We had massive organizational meetings. Everybody was involved in that, and we didn't know what to expect from it. As a matter of fact, that first parade formed at Memorial Park, and I went by at 9 o'clock before the 11 o'clock step-off, and there was nobody at Memorial Park. And I didn't really buy into the concept. People always give me credit for this parade. I right away hand it right back to Kathy Clark. So I go by Memorial Park, nobody's there. Wasn't this a good idea? Well, 2 hours later, people were there. The parade from step off with me to the fire engines at the end went 44 minutes. That was pretty good, and it kept getting better from there. Thanks to Kathy Clark, or we'd have no parade at that point. So it's just grown from that point in time, and number 40 coming up a week from today at 11 o'clock, starting at Gilson Square, now going west to Memorial Park.
And you and Tom DeVivo and Amanda DeVivo have not missed a single parade. Was that before or after you became the first Cupid?
Cupid was 82, Boombox Parade was 86.
Okay, so you were already the first Cupid.
But nobody has a radio as big as Tom DeVivo.
Right.
I don't know how you carry that thing, Tom. What, do you have to work out before the parade?
I have to do push-ups, and
I think he works out by carrying it up the ladder up to the bell tower, the clock tower at Town Hall.
Exactly.
That'd be a great workout, Tom.
One thing you talk about the first parade starting Memorial Park. For the first 2 years, at the end of the parade, and I don't know who did it, they passed out popsicles. Every person in the parade got a popsicle.
I didn't get one.
Well,
You don't even remember. Come on.
Oh, I didn't get
That was a long time ago.
I remember that.
You don't remember that?
I remember we all got popsicles, and I don't know who passed them out or why, but somebody was passing them out. But that's another great beginning of it. But from then, all the different types of floats, and whatever the political lead is what takes whatever is a national topic can become a topic of the parade. But I'm hopeful this year we can have a big celebration of being 40. 40 years is, it's a great celebration. It could be like a wedding celebration for your 40th anniversary. We can have a 40th, party.
Special, yeah.
Here's
It's a milestone. It's a milestone.
Here's one Dennis and Susan will get that probably half the radio audience won't. But, Tom, they had popsicles. Did they have icicles? You guys got it, right?
I got it.
Ooh,
I
like that one.
I like
that one.
Yes, but it was the parade has been so. I can think of all the things I've done. Remember the year when they used to have Marlboro Miles, like 25 years ago. If you bought a lot of cigarettes, you could get Marlboro Miles. They would send you a backpack and I had a coffin. But I had the coffin. I took a coffin and a broken coffin that come into the scrapyard. Never been used, I should say.
That's a good thing.
And they filled it with fake cigarettes. It said, "This is what you can with 600 Marlboro Miles." And that didn't go over too well. I had people throwing the cigarettes.
I'll bet people were upset by that. I'm sure there was probably a letter to the Chronicle or two.
No, there's no letters. People threw their butts into it.
Yeah.
So it became like a big
they threw their butts into it. Okay. When I think of butts, I think of something else. But
Dennis, tell me the concept of the parade. How does the parade work?
How does the parade work? It's you do whatever you want. You bring whatever you want. You wear whatever you want. But
specifically, what do they bring?
Radios.
Well, that took a while to get to.
Hey, listen.
Oh, the Boombox Parade.
You had to show me. You got that same red radio.
Well, there's a story about this. We're on TV, right? When does this thing play back?
We'll have to ask Rupert.
Then he just out taking a leak. But anyway,
it's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on YouTube as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, for the video audience, I actually have one of my boomboxes here. This is a Sony boombox. It's almost in the size of a basketball.
It's a good size one.
It's a little oblong, but nonetheless. And after about 5 years of the boombox parade, Sony got wind of the parade, and they got involved. It lasted like 1 year. They actually had a float in the parade, and they gave us 10 of these things to give away.
Wow.
And I would bet you the other 9 aren't working anymore. And this one's seen better days, but this one I'm holding up right now, my little red boombox, which I probably will have a week from today. So the concept is the parade doesn't work if you don't bring a radio.
Got to bring at least one.
And then what do you do with the radio, Tom?
Well, you take the batteries out and plug it in, because if you leave the batteries in and you don't listen to it.
You mean the other 364
year,
days of the year?
The other 364 days a year, the batteries will corrode.
You got to tune it to WILI, and you got to turn it up as loud as it can play.
No boombox?
Well, but it's AM FM now. You can look.
95.3.
Yeah, that's right. You can play. You can do it. 95.3 works. Works well.
No boombox, no problem. Bring any radio and blast it out, and that would even include car and truck radios for the units coming down the street.
Yep. Yep.
I agree.
Or your phone. You could actually blast it from your phone as well.
There was a time.
It's lighter than a boombox.
There was
now,
a time.
How do you?
Okay, go ahead.
Jeff, how do you pick the music? Is it
that's a great question.
Yeah, excellent.
You should do this interview thing. So we didn't have that stuff back in '86. Kathy Clark did. And I went in our back studio at the old studios at 948 Main Street, and she had all these 33 1/3 albums of all these military band people and Anchors Away and Stars and Stripes Forever and stuff, and we recorded it on I don't know if the original was on a reel-to-reel, but nonetheless, the one that we played on the air was off a cassette, and we used that cassette for a couple of years. And then we would add things over the course of time. Like after 3 or 4 years, we added the Yukon fight song, which everybody knows.
That's
You'll hear
still
that
there.
in the parade.
That's right.
But one of my favorite stories is that we play the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine songs in there, because they'd be played by any marching band in a 4th of July parade. So after a parade one year, I don't know, probably 5 or 7 years into the parade scheme, I got a phone call from a guy from the Coast Guard Academy, and he says, "Hey, I'm Joe Blow from the Coast Guard Academy. You got the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine songs. You got the Coast Guard Academy right here in Connecticut. Why don't you play their theme song?" To which you might be thinking yourself, the Coast Guard has a theme song? Yeah, it's called Semper Paratus.
I'm sure they do.
Always prepared. Yeah. And if the Coast Guard people are listening to the Boombox Parade a week from today, you will hear Semper Paratus, because the Coast Guard noticed that their theme song was not in the parade. So there's another one we added. But I would say about 80% of this soundtrack that we play every year, we don't change it. We got the best possible songs. You can't make it much better with occasional additions like the Coast Guard thing and the Yukon song. That was all Kathy Clark's music. So her legacy lives on in a lot of ways in this parade.
Well, we played Dixie, too. I don't know if that's gone.
I took that out.
I'm glad you took it out. I was actually offended by that, and I never said anything.
Were you offended by it 40 years ago? No, this is all a thing that's happened in the...
But I started to, as the years went by, and I was so much into the parade sometimes I didn't know what the heck they were playing. It was just wonderful to have that music. But I started to get bothered by it, yes.
But I do have a Wayno, have we ever had the parade last longer than the play track? Than the
Yeah,
music?
but all we do, Mr. Rupar here is in charge of that department. Right now, the recorded parade soundtrack that we have goes 65 minutes. So this is inside information. This has never been talked about publicly before. If the
scoop, this is scoop.
In about 2011, 2012, we had one parade that went an hour and 57 minutes. We just started over again. So you might hear the first song is... the Gershwin song, Strike Up the Band.
Yep.
Well, at 12:05, you're going to hear Strike Up the Band again. The whole thing cycles through, and then when the fire trucks start going to Memorial Park, then we turn the soundtrack down, and we talk to some of the people after the parade, and then it's all done. So the answer is the answer is that we'll keep playing it till the parade is over.
Good. I didn't know if you just had new music you put out there. Yeah, so.
I don't like Lee Greenwood at all, and I don't like the fact that Trump has adopted his song, but I like the song.
That's not the parade soundtrack. What are you talking about?
Isn't it on there? I've heard it.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's as you're coming up, as you're walking down the street from where I live, and they play that before the parade. You're right. I stand corrected. Strike Up the Band. Did Gershwin write that? I got to check that out. I don't
want to put a little money on it, pal?
I'm going to check it out. No, I'm not going to bet money. I don't have any money.
I'm not betting Wayne Norman. Are you kidding?
I'm not highly paid like you.
Get the phone out. Go ahead.
All right, I'm checking it out.
Yeah,
I'll be quiet for a minute.
Check with the radio Google. But I really think I think of it as a participatory parade. If you really have never been in it, you can still show up. Close to 11, get in line, and march in the parade, and your family can enjoy. You can enjoy walking the parade if you've never done it.
Susan, I got a
It's a
comment.
short walk.
Susan, I got a comment about the politicians, and there's a lot of politicians come to this parade.
There
That's
are.
fine. Anybody can come
It
if they want to
brings a
come.
lot.
But here's my problem: that the parade doesn't work if you don't bring a radio, and you can count on one hand the number of politicians. Present company, by the way, are not the problem, but
No.
the number of politicians who walk. They all love it, but they don't bring a radio. Can you talk to your people and say, hey, show the people of Windham, Willimantic, Eastern Connecticut, you get the concept. Bring a radio. Tune it to WILI. They don't do that. I would like to see that change
I
this
bet
year.
you we could do it with our cell phones. We could, cue into the radio station. And,
it's not
listen.
loud enough.
We don't do that. That wouldn't
No, I
work on
don't
a cell
think you
phone.
can
And
do
by the
that.
way, that wouldn't put out much music.
I don't think so.
Oh,
Well, but you
I
could-
don't know. It's pretty
yeah.
loud.
Well, you talk
We
to
all
your
had our cell
people,
phones
and I'll
at the
talk to
same
my
time.
people, and we'll get it done, Susan.
Okay, Dan.
All right.
All right.
All right, I like
No,
that. I like that.
We'll get
You
him some
could- you
small.
could-
But don't forget, those politicians, their presence there, I think that brings a lot of people to the parade. I think it does.
But I think it's a combination of showing the
Of
politicians
course.
care about
People
the
come
people,
for various
they care
reasons.
about this area, and it's really, really a good thing to do.
They
So
love
it'd be,
it. They love
it'd
it.
be
Hey,
great.
Dennis.
Nobody loves it like Dick Blumenthal.
Dennis, I'd like you to read this page off Wikipedia. Mm-hmm.
Strike up the band. Okay, that's not a
Read it.
composed by Gershwin with lyrics
Start
by
from the
Gershwin.
beginning.
Strike Up the Band is a 1927 song composed by George Gershwin with lyrics by Ira Gershwin. That's Ira. That's
All I
brother.
said was Gershwin.
You got it. You're all right.
And by the way, no lyrics in
So
the boombox. Just
first time all year I've been wrong.
this won't be the last.
I'm a classical music fan. I didn't think Gershwin would write a song like that. I thought it was one of those other great composers from the 20s and 30s. Okay,
You like
sorry.
John Philip Sousa?
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of him in the parade too.
Yeah, I
Well, John
Thank you,
Philip
Kathy
Sousa-
Clark.
John Philip Sousa goes back a little farther than George Gershwin.
You know, when the parade marches down Main Street, you will see, as you've seen every year since, I think, the first year, the big banner that says, "This land is your land."
Mm-hmm.
That'll be carried by Paul Ashton and Susan Oldershaw. Paul will be a guest here on Wednesday morning as we do a parade preview show. But that was Kathy Clark's banner. You know, she worked for the Housing Authority. This land is your land. And as they've done in the past, and I'm sure they'll do it again this year, if you look carefully at that banner, you will see a little commemorative item there remembering Kathy Clark. Because again, without Kathy Clark, we wouldn't be talking about this right now.
You know, I was preparing for the show today, and I did look at last year's photographs, and I saw Paul Ashton and Susan Oldershaw carrying that banner, and they always march right up ahead of the banner for WILI, indicating how many years the parade has been.
We've done that, by the way. It's all set to go.
Tomorrow will be 40, and I am not going to be doing that this year because of injuries I've suffered to my legs, and I'm going to try to make a comeback next year. But this year, for the first time ever, I will be riding in an open car in a Thunderbird and waving to the crowd. And I'm going to miss carrying the banner, but I'm sure that it'll be done well, and they'll be right behind. They'll be right behind Paul and Susan.
I was just going to say, as we were talking about Kathy Clark and how she worked for the Housing Authority, and that's a great banner that Susan and Paul actually carry every year. But another banner that has been very, very excellent in the parade is the people who carry the White House banner that says the White House is public housing.
The president lives in public housing.
Yeah.
That's what it says, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a picture of the White House. And
Fred Wallace started it.
Yeah, I think, he was also, Kathy Clark followed Fred Wallace into the position in the Housing Authority. So I just thought I'd mention that because I think it's a great way to think about the White House.
I think Mike Westerfield carried that tradition on when he was the executive director, and it's probably still in there.
Housing Authority?
Yeah. With
housing,
that, that's a great banner, Susan. You're right.
Yeah.
But it's the only public housing I think that has gold all through it now at the moment. Didn't he paint everything gold in some room?
Ooh.
Yeah.
The White House is gold?
No, the inside. They paint, like,
all right.
the inside.
I
But,
wouldn't be surprised.
But so much. I was just thinking about all the different floats I've had. One year I dressed as a iPod because iPods. Remember that?
I remember that one. Yeah, you've done a lot of those.
COVID. during COVID, I think I was the one who really lifted up the radio and tuned into WILI, and Wayno made it something came out. Wayne said something on the radio, but that was during COVID when we just recorded it. Yeah, you got to
we
take
had
a walk in.
we had a virtual parade that year. We did about a 30-minute soundtrack and had highlights of prior parades. We had Governor Lamont introduce the whole thing, and we had some fun with that. But while that was playing virtually on Facebook, and it got thousands of views, by the way.
Yeah.
But you were actually on Main Street. Were you the only one on Main Street, Tom?
Nope. No, there were people out there. But we had to walk on the side because the traffic wasn't stopped. You can't, the traffic, you can't. There was no reason to get hit by a car, so we kind of walked on the sidewalk and in the side of the road.
Hey, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the Boombox Parade and mention the great role that Willie Brew, David Wallner, Main Street Cafe play. Although David doesn't do a whole lot. David, right now, does not know what Willie Brew is going to put in the parade, but that has become, over the last 10 years, one of the highlights of the parade. I kind of like the fact they bring up the rear. It makes people stick around to see what they're going to do. He'll sit there on the side of the street. I've sat there and watched him do it after my thing is done, and he sees it for the first time. His employees all do it. Now, he might bankroll it. I'm not sure how that works out, but it's been a lot of fun to see what they do. We've had some great entries over the years. The Haggerty family, they had like 100 people coming, and some came from overseas, and they had like a whole block's worth of entries, and just so many. And of course, the Traveling Fish Head Club of Northeast Connecticut. They were not there marching in the first parade. That first parade, Jim Baber had a collection of old-time radios and set it up in front of the picture window at our old studios at 948.
Wow.
And he liked see the tie-in, he liked what he saw in the parade so much, the following year came this concept of the Traveling Fish Head Club of Northeast Connecticut, and hope I'm not ratting him out here, but Jim is inside one of the fish heads.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
What a revelation. Hey. And his wife, Karen Drazen, is usually outside.
She's the fish wife.
She's the fish wife. That's right. And they've been doing that's 39 years of the fish heads. Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
Well, this will be their 39th year. They weren't there.
Well, I'm counting this year.
Well, they did that.
I'm looking ahead.
Down here where Biscuits is now used to be Agway, and technically coming from the Willimantic River, that fish emerged from the river right to Gilson Square at the formation area, and it's been emerging on Main Street ever since.
Well, you emerged from that area too. Sort of. Pretty close to the river.
I remember when Whitewater, one of my favorites, Whitewater did the kayak, the waves. They did the radio waves on the kayak. Remember that kayak thing? They did a float called Radio Waves.
Yeah.
That was a fun one. There's just so many fun floats. And what does Haggerty family? Didn't they call it the Hagarosa?
Hagarosa, yeah.
That's the Haggerty family I was talking about. Yeah.
Hagarosa.
I think their first year they did a Ponderosa, like Bonanza theme.
Oh,
that's what it became. Hagarosa. They don't do as much anymore. They had an old fire truck in the parade. They were great there for about 10 years. They were really impressive.
Yeah. Big crowd of Haggertys. Big family.
So, big family in town. They grew up living near us.
Yeah.
I don't know the name of the street. Ash Ave? I think that's it. Might be wrong. It's right next to Cumberland Farms on Ashton Jackson.
Yeah, I remember Dan Haggerty. He was a Little League coach for many, many years. He was there when I started. Yeah.
He lived on Peru Street.
Yeah.
No. But they were a big family, that's for sure.
Yeah, you know what I get asked all the time this time of the year? Oh, what are you going to do? And I keep it quiet. I don't show my hand ahead of time. However, people might have forgotten this, but each of the last 3 years, I did tributes to national champions. The last 2 years, the Yukon men won it, and I'm pretty close to them as I broadcast the men's games. I was there at all the Final Fours and stuff. And the year before that, 2022, the aforementioned Eastern Connecticut State University baseball won the national championship, and we walked down the street with Wyndham Boys basketball, they won the national championship. We had a big truck with both of them. We had the players from Eastern, the players from Wyndham. We had signs for each one.
I gotta say this. I started you on that trend because I recommended to you that you get the Wyndham High girls when they won about 10 years ago.
2011.
That's 2011, and I said you should have them bouncing basketballs up the street, and you did it. And you pulled it off. It was fantastic.
So I've done a lot of
championship. The girls loved it.
I've done a lot of championship things over the year. The first time I did it was '95 after the women won it, and I've had people saying to me, "You're going to do something because the women won it this year." Well, look, we've done champion the last 3 years and probably 5 or 6 times total. We're taking a different direction. That's all I'm going to say about that.
This year. Yeah.
Next Friday.
Next Friday. Looking forward to it, Wayne. I'll be thinking about it from now until then, trying to figure it out. But I'll find out because I'll be there.
Yeah.
Riding in an open convertible.
Yes, because you can play hurt, but you can't play injured.
No, I can't play injured. I played injured long enough.
Sports phrase.
I'm on the IL. I'm on the IL.
I got it.
I'm on the injured list.
I got it.
Injured list.
Mm-hmm.
So looking forward to it next year in a comeback.
I'll be there too, Dennis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. I'll be looking for you.
Yeah, I better be there, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any
So
final
bring your radio.
Exciting.
Finals.
Everybody, that's the final.
Radio.
That's the final thing to say. Bring your radio. If you don't have one, you can still buy one. You can buy
Get
them.
a small one. You don't have to take any.
No, never mind a small. Get a big one.
Yeah.
And leave
And if you have a
the
business
earbuds
on
home.
Main Street, if you have a business on Main Street,
Thanks for
you can
listening,
also
folks.
plug
We'll
in.
see you at July 4th.
Good idea, Tom. Good idea.